So I was listening to Jordan Harbinger on the Essentialism podcast with the wonderful McKeown, and he got me so pumped about calendar blocking. Yes, calendar blocking. But stick with me here. Jordan explains how he blocks his time in 15-minute slots, and even includes things like his shower, lunch, and spending time with his family. Now you might be thinking, what the f***? This seems way overboard and totally bonkers, and I would agree with you, because that's exactly what I thought. But then I heard him talk about how simple it really is and all the benefits that come with it, and I got super excited.
Nerd alert!
I even decided to try it out for myself for an entire week, but we'll come back to that later. Jordan is a Wall Street attorney turned entrepreneur, and he transitioned to the working from home life back in 2007. So unlike many of us, he wasn't forced into it during the last year and actually had some time to adjust. He says that it was calendar blocking that helped him the most with his change. And given that so many of us find ourselves now working from home with so many more distractions, this could be game changing, especially if it really does only take 30 minutes a week to put into practice, unlike those Joe Wicks recipes that claim they only take 30 minutes but end up taking 2 hours. Just me? Okay, but why should we even care? Well, do you ever find yourself getting to the end of the day and wondering where on earth the time went? Like, how did another day go by where you just didn't get done what you set out to do? You have interruption after interruption, and you are always feeling like you're being reactive rather than proactive. Yeah, me too. And it's so frustrating and can easily lead to overwhelm. And in the wise words of Greg, by doing this, we're letting other people prioritize our lives for us. Not cool. Jordan refuses to be reactive. Everything must be scheduled for the week in advance. He's designed an ideal week for himself where he's been really careful about how much time he wants to spend on various activities, both personally and professionally. And now it's become more maintenance than actual planning. But it's this highly structured approach that allows him to keep what's important to him front and center. And his friends always ask him how he manages to get more done in a week than they do in a month. And he puts it down to a lack of planning, scheduling, and time blocking on their part. He says that most people say they know what they have to do, but very few people actually do, which is how you get to the end of the day feeling exhausted and like you've wasted the day. You effectively end up prioritizing your non-essential work. So now we know why we should calendar block, let's take a look at the process itself. The key here is that you don't want to start with a blank canvas. You start with the meetings and the main tasks that you've already committed to. Then you only need to plan the remaining hours of the unallocated time, which is why it only takes around 30 minutes. And also why it's so important to have everything on your calendar in the first place, which means if you haven't got an up-to-date calendar, this is probably going to take a little longer the first time round. And also a great tip he gives is that you shouldn't plan when you're feeling super energized or motivated, because then you're likely to overestimate the amount of stuff that you can get done in a day or a week.
I am invincible! Invincible!
Now, we know that things never actually go to plan, so some things will take less time and some more. And for the times you find yourself with spare time, does that ever happen? You should have a default task to revert to. This takes any ambiguity in decision making out of the equation, which is perfect for someone like me because I can't make a decision to save my life. Do I want a cookie or do I want 2 cookies? For Jordan, his default is to spend time with his family. The key here is to not get caught up with other tasks. And while things can and do overrun, Jordan is fairly strict when stopping tasks when the time is up. Checking email, for example. He'll get as far as he can in the allocated time and then move on to the next task. Because once you start to go over, you change your mindset with that exception and the system falls apart. Here's the example that Jordan gives. Let's say he gets a phone call at 1 p.m. and there's nothing in his 1 p.m. calendar slot. He doesn't just pick up the phone because he hasn't spoken to that person in a while. Instead, he sends them a message to check that everything is okay. And providing they don't need bailing out of jail or something, then he just says, hey, let's catch up on X at Y time. Does that time work for you? And those are the times that he's already built in for phone calls, when he's on a walk, for example. Again, you might be thinking, is taking a quick phone call really such a big deal? And no, it's really not in isolation. But what that actually means is that you've changed your mindset. You've started reacting, even if only to one thing. And although you think that one thing will only take 15 to 20 minutes, how many times has it taken so much longer? And then you're pushing your next meeting, which pushes the next meeting. And the next thing you know, you can't do your workout or you're late for dinner. The second you react to one or two things, even if you had nothing in that slot, you've destroyed the mindset that you are in charge of your own time. So I'd just like to pause here because that hit me hard. It is so true. That person called when it was convenient for them. We don't have to drop everything and answer that call. Except for you, Mum, I will always answer your calls. While I'm taking a pause, I just want to say thanks to everyone who has liked, commented and subbed so far. Your support is massively appreciated. And I also want to shout out Stan Valenta for his comment that came through by email, but I can't see it on YouTube, so I can't reply to you. But I really wanted to say thank you for your lovely message. It means so much to me. Okay, we've talked about how to stick to the schedule, but it's not always possible to just stop what you're doing there and then. Yeah, exactly. And the most important thing that you absolutely can't forget is, I've got to go. Bye. Some things take longer, and sometimes you will naturally just get distracted. And when this happens, tasks need to be moved around and adjusted accordingly. For example, if Jordan decides to take an unplanned nap, how dare he takes what he would have been doing during that time and moves it elsewhere. He doesn't just reduce the time allocated to the task or delete it altogether, which means that something somewhere else has to give. But to be clear, there is also downtime built into the schedule. So Jordan doesn't actually have his calendar 100% full, it's about 95% full, and points out that there is a difference between full and busy. It's full because he's planned that downtime. It's about being intentional with his time. He's not just like working flat out all the time. The calendar actually serves a dual purpose. As well as being for planning your week ahead, you can also use it to review your previous week. It becomes your one source of truth and your time log, which is why Jordan updates his calendar even after an event if it started and finished at a different time to what was scheduled. It serves as a log of what actually happened in the week. It's a post-mortem that allows you to make necessary changes because you find out where your time actually goes and how much we underestimate things. It also stops you kidding yourself when you think that something won't take as long as it really does. So after listening to this episode, I felt like I'd had an epiphany. This was exactly what I needed. I bought myself a weekly planner because if you don't buy something for your new habit, are you even doing it properly? And away I went. And I'm not going to lie, I had an amazing week. I was so on it and felt fantastic. So it does work, but I didn't or couldn't keep up with it. And having re-listened to the episode now, I think that was because I was so strict in the first week, but then I started to allow exceptions to creep in and I just couldn't recover from it. The domino effect had taken place and the system started to fall down. But I'm ready to try this again because some of my daily habits have stopped being daily and started being neverly. So Monday night will be my planning night and I'm kind of super excited all over again. Yeah! Now, if you want to get your day off to the best start, then be sure to check out my morning routine video. And remember Greg's wise words. If you don't prioritize your life, somebody else will. Bye guys.